Hello, hello, y'all. Come on in. Hi. Come on in, y'all. Oh, I know I rescheduled my show because I had a doctor's appointment and I forgot to tell y'all yesterday. A doodle-dollop with Daisy is in the house. Hi. Listen, my other phone that plugs into my soundboard is dead. I did not realize it. And this phone is almost dead. So we're going to stay live as long as we can until somebody's phone dies. Somebody's phone gonna die. Somebody's phone gonna die. I really need to go charge it, but whatever. I'll do it later. We'll just last as long as we can, okay? What's up, Vicky? Come on in. Thank you for registering, Daisy. I appreciate that. Thank you. Hi, come on in. I'm so glad to see y'all today. We made it to Tuesday. Yay, hey. We are almost to halfway through the week. Ugh, that sounded really depressing. Hi, UK from Tennessee. Oh yes, you can schedule events from here until 2030. I just got to get on schedule with making them. So I figured I would set aside time every Sunday to make them. Thank you, Carol. Thank y'all. Yeah, we made it past Monday. I'll see you on that. I don't know what's wrong with my phone, but when I go to google.com, it just brings up Google Maps no matter what I do. I think that's so weirdly. When you come in, you know what to do. So do that. What's up, Shay? What's up, Pansy? What are y'all doing at 2:20 p.m.? I don't know what people are doing at 2:20 p.m. during the day. What's everybody up to? Welcome in, Thrash. Thank you for being in. Thank you, Gracie. I can also make them a different color. Vicky's in bed. Oh, yeah, Vicky. What time is it there? It's your bedtime. Oh. Gracie's being lazy today. Darian took a mental health break. Or a mental health day. Yes, awesome. Pansy, thank you for the potato and pali. Today's live goal is 10 potatoes in pali, and I have one of them. So 9 more, and we will make the goal. I do have updates. I have updates. Oh, I voted too. Is my sticker? Oh yeah, my sticker is still on here. I forgot I had it on my shirt. I voted. Get my sticker up here. Hi, thank you for using your stickers. I see you wanting to come up to the panel. I just want to say something very quickly and then I'll open up the panel, okay? I think my husband's home. I hear the garage door. Lots of soul souls in the room. Yes, we have 400 souls in the room. Ah. Oh, Carol. She's the doll. I just love Mom. Yes. I see you in my text messages. I see you up there. I have a different phone because my other phone that connects to my soundboard is dead. I've literally been running around since 8 o'clock this morning. I went and got the Tata squish. We had a little scare, which turned out to be nothing. So that breast cancer runs in my family so bad, I have to have a scan every 6 months. So we're going to take another look in 6 months, but it looks like nothing. So that took forever because I had to have, they came for a scan and they got me for another scan. They're like, well, he wants to look at this. And that took like 3 times as long as it normally does. And then I finally make it to vote. And then I finally make it home. And I finally get to eat a bite. And here I am. Snowflake is a subscriber. Welcome, Snowflake, to the family. Brr. I don't have my soundboard going. Maybe y'all can hear it if I put it over here. Let's see here. Hold on a minute. Make sure my mic's away from me. I don't want a screeching sound. Oops. Let's see if y'all can hear it. Oh, I don't know. How about this? Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Okay. Now, I was a little late for today's live, and I only have, it's because I had to take a phone call, which I really appreciated. And I'm not going to bring up what the phone call was about or anything because it's not worth mine or your time. But I just want this clear message to go out there. So I'm just going to say this one thing about it, and then we're going to move on with our day. But I would like the people to whom they know it pertains to write it down because they don't seem to understand it, okay? The definition of slander is the action or crime of making a false spoken statement about false statement damaging to a person's reputation. It's making false and damaging statements about someone. The slander is making a false statement about another person or people verbally with the intent to defame the subject of the statements. If it's written, it's libel. Slander is a legal term used to describe defamation or harming the reputation of a person or business by telling one or more others both untrue and damaging things about them. Panel is open. Panel is open.
I'm good. First good news, my son got a job today. I know, I'm so proud of him. So what you just said, I know I talked to you a little bit about what's going on. That's kind of what I wanted to come up here and talk about this case against my husband. Which they've basically slandered his name. I had sent you the slandered his name. I had sent you the so where do I start? Okay, so last month Eric was getting on the highway, and he merged on to a major highway. Behind, you're there. Ended up behind a fella in a truck. No, you guys go.
Oh, we can't play outside.
No, not right now. I'm on live. Ended up behind a truck. The guy proceeds to immediately brake check my husband in the fast speed lane. So, you know, my husband threw on the brakes to avoid hitting this guy. He, you know, at first my husband's like, okay, maybe the guy saw something coming and he, you know, he slammed on his brakes, da 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 da. Well, so as my husband then went to switch lanes, this man switched lanes with him. And when he did that, he slammed on his brakes again and almost pushed my husband into the wall. So, at this point, my husband's like, all right, this dude is obviously like road raging, something's going on, you know, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So, so if you picture this, we drive a RAV4. The guy was in a, maybe like an F-150 truck kind of, you know, truck. Eric's not really sure, but so anyway, Eric basically steps on the gas to get past this guy. Well, when he goes past the guy is literally, he said if they had been any closer, they literally would have collided. This guy would not give Eric room. So when Eric went by, he...
Just a second.
Yes.
I don't know who sent that because it went so fast, but thank you. Courtney, y'all, has now has a subscription that got gifted to her. Thank you. Sorry about that, Chastity. Go ahead.
No, you're fine. It's Dad's. So when Eric went by, at this point, you know, he's a little PO'd off because he's like, what in the hell is this guy's problem? He flips the guy off, which, I'm sorry, I've done it before, done it myself, you know, whatever. So, then this guy's behind Eric. This man followed Eric for a total of 17 and a half miles on the highway. Eric realized that the guy was following him, and so Eric tried to get off on different exits, and he noticed that every exit he tried to get off of, this guy was following him. He's like, okay, I'm not in a safe situation. Something's going on here. So he chose to stay on the highway. So 14 miles down the highway, this man makes a 911 phone call. And by this time, we're in a whole different county from where this actually happened, okay? So, this man makes a phone call, and it goes to the Ohio State Patrol in Batavia. It says, it was notified of a traffic-related violence that occurred on Interstate 275 near milepost 58 in Miami Township, Claremont County. Now, from where he made this 911 phone call, from where it actually happened, we are 14 miles in, okay? Keep that in mind. He said the initial call was from the victim after he observed the suspect holding an object in his right hand, which he determined to be a firearm. After following the suspect for several miles and observing reckless driving, the victim came to the highway patrol post to report the incident. In the victim's statement, he advised he thought the suspect was attempting to follow him due to him following too close to the victim's vehicle. Okay, so did this man, he just said that he followed my husband, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then he turns around and says that my husband was following him. I mean, I'm poking holes in this guy's statement all over the place because I'm like, dude, you're a liar. So then he says, the victim then stated, when the two vehicles were beside each other, he mouthed to the suspect, "Why are you following me?" That would have been the other way around. You've done followed my husband for 14 miles. To which he then saw the suspect brandish a firearm and pointed at him. The victim was able to describe the general size, shape, color of said firearm, as well as how the suspect was holding it. When the victim was asked if he feared for his life, he stated yes, and that he feared retaliation from the suspect for reporting the incident. So then, my husband gets a phone call a day later from the sheriff's post and says, you need to come in.
She's just given a very quick update about her husband, but I do have lots of updates and lots of JP stuff to talk about. Just stick around, okay? She's just doing a quick update. Go ahead.
Yeah. So we're notified a day later, like, hey, there's been a report made against you. You need to come in and see what's going on. They did not put my husband's whole statement in the statement at all. The only thing they put in here was the suspect admitted to owning handguns pew-pews, denied possessing any of them in the car, which we don't carry in the car. The suspect only admitted displaying inappropriate hand gestures at the time of the incident. Nowhere in this report did the sheriff note that my husband told them that this guy was road raging, that my husband was literally behind this guy for maybe 2 minutes tops. And this man followed him, so we clocked it when we ended up having to go back to court. We clocked it. He ended up following him 17 and a half miles, but he's in fear of his life?
They lie. People lie to get whatever they want.
But now let me tell you what the court did. So I had to go turn my husband in. They put out a warrant for him. They actually picked this case up after by just this man's word. So they filed a warrant. I turned him in. They arrested him, kept him overnight. I go to court the next day. They give him a $5,000 bond with no 10%. So I had to go to a bondsman and give him my 10%. They made him give up his firearms. They made him go on probationary rug testing while the case is going on.
What? How can they make anybody do anything until the case is done? That's weird.
That's what we're all trying to figure out. Now tell me that this place is not corrupt as hell.
Majorly.
The total cost already, if I look it up in Claremont County, the total court cost right now is at over $200.
When y'all come in, please, you know what to do to get folks in here. We have 333 souls in the room. We're on a subway, so if you hit that subscribe button if I get 3 more subscribers, then we hit a subway, and that just means TikTok gives you extra stickers and features. I wanted to, because my phone's dying and I don't know how long I have here, I wanted to get to the JP updates because there's quite a few of them. I've got a video in my drafts I'm about to post. And I'm sure you all have seen all of the updates anyway.
Yeah. My only other thing was, Steph, they have zero discovery on this case. They have nothing. And they literally are dragging this out like he is a common criminal and has already been convicted.
That is the worst. I mean, firsthand. I hate that for you.
All right, let's get to JP. I just wanted to let everybody know what the heck's going on because I know I've been all over the place for the past couple weeks, and that's why.
Snowflake sent a subscription. Thank you. Doodles. You got a subscription. Yay, Doodles. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, boss lady. Okay, let's get to the updates here.
Steph. Hey, Steph, I'm sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to come in and say I love you. I love everybody here. Today is a very emotional day. It's pretty hard, and but we're all handling it well. And I know it sounds weird because we got some things that we should be, happy about. But to me, it's just I'm just really, really torn. I just want to seek justice for Micah, and I don't think closing a church is justice for Micah. I don't think that raids are justice for Micah yet. Dominoes, but that poor girl went through a lot. She still hasn't been able to rest, but we know she's in a better place. So I just want to come on here and just say my piece. I'm still fighting for justice for Micah, and just want to thank you, and God bless you all, okay? But I'm doing well. I'm just really, really super busy. I got a ton of things I got to do. But I wanted to jump on here and tell you I love you. I'm supporting y'all. I'm praying. And
I love you, Jay.
Let's keep fighting, ladies, okay? Have a good one. I love y'all.
Love you, Jay.
Yeah, that was one of the updates, is that I don't know if y'all saw that there is a moving day happening today. There are boxes. Hold on, I'm going to because I'm on the wrong phone for what I do. This is the wrong setup here. Let me text myself. I text myself. Let me text myself the pictures so I can explain what I'm doing, and I'll be right back in 2
Well, while we're waiting, let's try to get to 50,000. We're at 24,000.
Let's see if we can.
Right?
I bet we. Yes, I bet we can.
All right, here we go. Oh,
Let's
look,
still try and get 50K though.
I got a text from myself.
Look, I just subscribed for the first time ever to anybody, and I'm so excited.
You did, Ruth? Thank you.
Oh, that's so cool. I'm trying. Something's wrong with my Apple thing, and I've been trying so hard to sub, and I did something to my phone. I don't know what I did.
So basically, today is moving day for Solid Rock Church. This is for the first, I forget exactly what it's called, the school there, the First Something Faith, whatever it is. But there's just a picture that Robbie Harvey posted of boxes being, and stuff being took outside of the church. So that is the news. One of the pieces of news that I had for today is that they are over there moving. I feel like they're moving somewhere. Maybe not right now, but believe you me, that there will be Faith First Academy. That's it. Thank you. Snowflake is sending those subscriptions. Oh my God. Do the dollop Daisy. You got a subscription.
Oh my goodness.
Yay.
Wait, who sent me a sub?
Snowflake, I believe, because she told you to comment and she would send you one.
Snowflake. Oh, thank you.
Or maybe it was Doodle. I'm not sure.
So right before we got on the live, I heard that he's going to be preaching via the internet now.
Oh.
Oh my goodness.
He don't have any computers. How's he going to do that?
I don't know. That's what I heard.
He might be doing it telepathically, I guess.
Must be. I don't know how anybody could sit there and listen to that man.
Right. And it's going to be him doing it, him preaching. Mm-hmm.
So he's just going to turn it into a virtual mess.
Right. Yes.
And then he's going to get himself in more trouble because he always does every time he does a sermon on YouTube.
Yeah, I guess it's going to be like a YT thing to where people, and I'm assuming, so I mean, he's got to be able to get money out of it to where you have to subscribe, and that's how he's going to get his tithes to be able, you know, to take care of this, and he's going to be preaching.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Wait, that was always his plan, to be honest with you. It was always his plan was to get on and do it, you know, with a bigger audience. And I think that he was kind of pushed to do it that way. And, you know, so maybe he'd be a great motivational speaker. He just does not need to be a pastor of a church, in my opinion.
Absolutely not. I agree with you 110%.
Yep, we're going to motivate the narcissist to be more narcissistic.
Yeah. The other thing I wanted to talk about, I know everybody in this room probably saw Law and Crime, the sidebar that they had with Regina Ward, that show on the Big YT, I think it is. And Regina Ward, for those of you who don't know, said that she got a subpoena 2 months ago to turn over all files belonging to Micah Miller to the grand jury, to like a grand jury subpoena. Everybody has seen it.
No, I did not.
Cassidy, yes.
Oh my goodness.
I have not seen that either. Girly.
Yes. Yeah, she said 2 months ago that the grand jury gave her a subpoena to turn over all files regarding to Micah.
So sidebar with Jesse Weber, is that where I need to watch it?
I think it is. The other thing that she said.
Sidebar Law and Crime, someone just said in the comments.
The other thing that she said is that they are potentially more victims. And she actually used the word victims.
Wow.
Oh my.
I had a feeling that was going to happen anyway.
Yeah.
Do you guys you want me to pull it up on? I can't. My phone's dead. Oh, maybe I'll do it tonight. I know y'all want to go watch it anyway. I don't know. My phone, I was just so busy today and I forgot to put it on charge. So I don't have any way to do that. But, or I totally would. But that's basically what she talked about. He also had someone on there that is a former FBI, CIA agent.
Wow.
Ann says she has the clip. I'm about to post the clip too when I get off live. I've got a video that I put together about it. But they asked this former agent what she thought about the raid, and she says, and her words were that in her opinion, of course, she don't have any inside info or anything, that the situation, this is bigger than Micah. She said this is bigger than Micah based on what I saw them take out, and that it may include financial as well. The former FBI agent believes that this has some kind of financial doing also, but of course she don't, it's just opinions on the show. But it's a 20-minute show. And it was just so interesting. Regina Ward couldn't say much, but I think the one thing that she said it all.
Absolutely.
Hey, Steph, did you see the obituary? Did you see the obituary for Dee Dee?
Yep.
I didn't.
The obituary. Yeah, I just sent it in the chat. The obituary. It gives a lot of information about the young lady that was found deceased on his property on Friday.
Yes.
I had the funeral last night. So I'm going to have to hop down. I got about another 3 minutes. 10 till I got a conference call. Love y'all. So.
Love you, Gabe.
Bye. Go ahead, Vicky.
So, yeah, just wanted to add a little bit more about that. The thing with the ex-CIA lady. So her name is Tracy Walder. She is apparently a former CIA and a former FBI agent. And so she said, and I just nearly cried when she said this. She said a few things that I just thought were really interesting. If we are there serving a search warrant, charges are definitely forthcoming.
Yep.
If we're there serving a search warrant, charges are definitely forthcoming. A few of us were talking about whether or not he was given the heads up, that they were on their way, etc. Basically, what she said is that they would have waited for him to be gone and then serve the search warrant. So basically that they surveil the person for a couple of weeks before they are planning on doing a raid to figure out what their routine is. And that they would have chosen that time because it would have been a sort of a routine departure from the home. So I thought that was really interesting. Yeah. So, and then just following on from what Steph said. So she said, I believe this extends to other victims he may have potentially groomed. I write this down just because I'm really anal and I like to remember what people say. I believe this extends to other victims he may have potentially groomed or to his ministry itself, looking at some of those financial dealings and looking at some of the exchanges with other victims. I think this is larger than assault, larger than murder. I think this is going into racketeering and potentially pornography. So larger than murder. That's it.
Yeah. That's the gist of it. I was just like, still, even though, we kind of felt this was coming, it may have been bigger than we could have even imagined. I'm having eye trouble today, so sorry if I'm rubbing at them. But
Can I say one last thing? I've got to go, and I'm sorry to interrupt the host, but I do have a confirmed source that did say that he was contacted just prior to the search, 100%, and was told what was going to happen, and that and they were very cooperative and allowed for the search to happen. That everything was they were very, very, very cooperative, and it wasn't a questioning. It was just an explanation of what was happening, and make sure that that animals and anybody in the house was safe. So they did it very professional, and it wasn't like a tip off at all. That's just a rumor. It was done the proper way, just to let y'all know that, and that comes from a vetted a source of mine. I've got to go. Love y'all. Can you drop me down? I don't still know how to do that yet, Steph. Love y'all. Take care. Bye.
Have a good day, Jay.
All right, bye.
I suppose really I don't think it matters personally, in my opinion, that whether he was informed or not informed. I mean, what pleases me is that what she says basically about charges will definitely be forthcoming. I think that's the key thing, isn't it?
yes. And you know what else? I made a mental note of, although I've said this myself before, but Regina said Al Capone, remember that part? She said he didn't go to jail for slaughter. He went to jail for tax evasion. So, yeah. Jail is jail. Jail is jail, she said. That was her quote. Jail is jail.
Exactly. And when you have a narcissist like JP, they just truly believe they're invincible and untouchable, and they'll never, nothing will ever happen. They'll never get caught.
And I was married to one, but nothing
Exactly.
like on that level. Nothing. I thought mine was bad, and then
I made a video when this first happened and was trying to get people to like understand more of like the victim aspect of it, because I was with a narcissist who used to tell me on a daily basis, like, I will unalive you in ways to make it look like you did it, or I will unalive you and no one will ever find you. And I'll just tell them you couldn't handle being a new young mom and you ran off. And they tell you things like that. And then you live in fear that it's actually going to happen. And you wake up every day and you don't know, like, hey, is today the day that he's going to snap?
Oh my gosh, you give me the full body chills.
And I truly believe that is what Micah was dealing with from everything I've seen of JP. And it's very scary and a very hard thing to go through.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I loved when Regina Ward, during this interview, she said, be it not for Micah, and I love the wording that she used, be it not for Micah, who kept all those journals. And Regina Ward said today, a detailed paper trail.
Yes, I kept a very detailed journal as well.
So when Regina said paper trail, that was a phrase trigger for me. And I had recalled that in a few parts of Micah's medical documents, we saw that she was talking to someone about the paper trail. Just make a mental note of that to hold for later.
Yes. I had letters written to my sister, my best friend, and my mom, and it locked away in a safety deposit box. And it told them specifically, if you find me and I am unalived and it looks like I did it, I did not do it. This is who did it. And you need to make sure that he answers for it.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
It's so sad. I mean, my heart breaks for you because I mean, I've been there, and to know that somebody is that mean, and I don't want to really say what I really think about him, so I'm just going to say me. But
I think that's why I resonated with this case so much in the beginning, is because I could just tell what Micah was going through with JP, because he just gives full-blown narcissist.
oh, definitely he does. I mean, from the get-go, whenever the first thing I saw, which I think it was on Steph's page, when I saw it, I was like, yeah, not right.
No, and when her sister released those text messages, I was just like, there it is.
McLovin brings up a pretty good point here. Aren't you surprised that they didn't raid the church and they actually let them move stuff out?
I was going to ask you about that because I saw somebody comment that yesterday.
I was really waiting for them to go there after his house, and I was shocked that they didn't.
I wonder if they had plans to and then just didn't have the time or the resources to.
I don't really feel like that's the reason, because, I mean, I know, like my husband's cousin is an undercover, and they will work all night. They don't care. You know what I mean? Like if it's something and they're that close, they'll work all night long and not quit until they're done. So that's why I was also kind of like, why didn't they go to the church?
So this is all I will say. Also, thank you, Steph, for letting me on. Love you, sis. You rock. This is all I'll say. It's complicated. How I think about it is just, let's all sit and watch. I think it's bigger than anything maybe we ever thought, if I'm being honest. I think it's bigger than everything we ever, even me being in it from the beginning, ever imagined. Seriously.
Hey, Whitney, you can find it probably on the Big YT. Just look for Law and Crime Sidebar, and it'll bring it up. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Didn't know what you were thinking. All right. So, but all I'm saying is, like, seriously, like, we can say, oh, is it just about Micah's death? No, I don't think that.
No, I don't think it is either.
No. Is it just about the church finances? No, I don't think that either. And the truth is, we don't know what's going on, and that's why I keep saying it's still going to be a long haul. This is a victory, guys. It's a victory. But it's still going to be a long haul, in my opinion, from somebody who's been watching this from the beginning, quiet, not quiet, whatever, right? Quiet, not quiet, but, like, seriously, like, people say they know stuff. The truth is, the only people that know stuff is God Almighty. Everybody that knew John Paul and the elders and all that church before this ever happened, right? And then everybody after that who went and investigated this. That's the only people who know everything.
Absolutely.
Am I wrong?
No, not at all.
Okay, so that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. I am 100% confident. One, this case is solved. If God and the FBI is behind it, I'm confident with that. Anybody got a problem with that? I don't. Truth is. And so why I wanted to pop on here is just say, look, we talk about all kinds of things. Let's stop talking about people who are not relevant to the case. FBI, God. John Paul Miller, Micah, Trisha. Let's get back to that. That was the whole point of this whole case. The whole case has now gotten into all kinds of people and all kinds of names that could be mentioned. Myself was one of them. Don't care. Literally tomorrow morning, I'm deleting my TikTok. And the reason I'm doing this, it's not going slide to any TikTok creator, but because I'm not a TikTok creator. Don't care. Don't care what's said. Don't care. I personally have got my release. If anybody that knows spiritual things, right? Listen, in Steph case files, she's a praying woman. I can look at her eyes. She's a praying woman. Yeah, she is. She is. Steph knows what I'm talking about. Even though we've had friction behind closed doors, it doesn't matter right now, does it? It doesn't matter. It does not matter. No, she knows. So what I'm saying is, it doesn't matter. Everybody has their story. Literally, I'm tearing up right now. I'm tearing up right now because of this. Everyone has their story, and it's great. And I don't want to come against anyone's story about why they got involved in this. The truth is, it's not your personal story. It was always about God and the FBI. And let's make that clear, right? And Steph's case files, it's Steph's case files for a reason. Steph, am I wrong? Because that's oh, she's snickering. Yeah. So even, yeah, look at her. So she knows what I'm saying is right. That's all I'm saying. And I'm literally, tomorrow morning, you're gonna not hear from me. Maybe not my wife, Alicia. I don't know. She has her own mind. I can't control her. I don't control her. But I'm signing off on mine because for me, this is signed, sealed, delivered, like Stephen Wonder said it. It's signed, sealed, delivered, people. And it may be 4 months, 6 months, 4 years, or 6 years because, like, if you follow this stuff, tell me I'm wrong, it could be a long, long time. And this is why we do this. And I'm so proud of all of you that you did this. But I'm tired of me coming against you, and I'm tired of you coming against me. there's no reason for us to be fighting. We're fighting for the same thing. And I'm going to sign off with that. I love you all. That's all I have to say. Love you, Steph Case Files. Also, your hair looks awesome, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, that green looks awesome on you.
Thanks. Lord, I've been running around today everywhere. So thanks for that.
Yeah, your hair looks amazing, and then the color of the frames is very giving. It's
They
very
make your eyes pop a lot.
Thank
I
you.
noticed that the other night when you were wearing them too. I was like, oh, those are cute.
Oh, I hadn't seen you in the green ones before. I missed that one then.
Yeah, she was rocking them the other night.
Big YT on that.
I need to see if the pair I wear, whoever they are, is going to give me an endorsement and send me some free frames.
I like the other ones
wanna
too.
get
The
those for my daughter
multicolored
so
ones. Those
bad.
are really pretty.
Yes, I want to get those for my daughter so bad. Like,
They're so fun. It makes wearing glasses like you don't get bored with the same old pair. You know,
right,
It's
that's
like
what I'm
you're not
hoping
wearing
that
the
she'll
same
actually wear them
clothes.
because I've bought her
right.
like 4 different pairs and she refuses to wear them. No, mommy, I don't look good in them. They're not cute. And so I'm like, if I just get her those, she can change them every day.
It's like wearing a different outfit almost. Like
Right.
you're getting to wear a different outfit. I mean, it's so
I did
smart.
notice a lot of the comments. People keep asking about JP and Susie being married. I know there is a creator on here saying that she's had it confirmed. I can't remember her name, but then I don't think it has been confirmed. So I think that's where a lot of that is coming from. Is it's just she's trying to just start rumors. I don't really because I've never seen her through this whole case. Through this whole case, if I wanted factual information, I came to Steph or Guru. To be completely honest. So I really don't think that I don't know. Nobody's been able to confirm that to my knowledge that they in fact got married. So I think that's just a bunch of speculation at the moment.
I can say something about that, if you don't mind. So don't come at me. I'm actually a semi-friend of JP. I do talk to him ever since everything's happened, pretty much on a weekly basis, since the raid on a daily basis. They are not married. Just 100% friendship. That's all that's happening there.
it is not. Let's be on. Jimmy, welcome to the panel. You're welcome
Thank you.
here because I have some questions for you here. But let me. They're not friends. They might be friends with benefits.
I can't speak to that. I'm just saying they're not married. That's all I'm saying.
That's good.
He's like, it's not on paper.
Right. I'm like, well, let's be for real. They're not just friends.
All right, go ahead, Jimmy. Do you have anything else?
Yeah, so just a few things that I saw. So obviously, I saw the raid happening like everybody else. And I text JP right away and just said, hey, man, what's, going on? He, did confirm what everybody's been saying, that he's, was at the Starbucks, that whole situation. But he was 100% taken off guard. He had no idea that any of this was going to happen. And so even when it came to the church, I know there was some confusion because they changed the name and then they suddenly decided to close it. That was all in response to the FBI raid. He wasn't prepared for it. His lawyers weren't prepared for it. His lawyers they can't even guess in their perspective as to what they're looking for. So I think the plan was to change the church name and rebrand. That's the direction. That's why, when they redid the application for the state to be a nonprofit, where he put in, if the ministry ceases to exist, here's where everything goes. Because in his mind, that was 100%. We're going to relaunch, we're going to rebrand. And then the raid happened and it totally caught him off guard, his lawyers off guard. And him and I were texting on Saturday and, he just said, I'm just at a loss. We don't know what to do. So they decided Saturday that they were going to make the announcement to close the church. And now that's what you're seeing work out. So I just wanted to comment on, I don't really do this and comment and say things, but only because I've seen speculation on that of, was this whole plan? How did the name change happen? But really for him, this all played out just like it did for everybody else. And that's why they decided to stop with the name change and just close the whole ministry down.
So, do you know why he chose the name Living Waters? Just curious.
I do not. I did not ask him that.
Jimmy,
Courtney, I love you.
oh my God, Jimmy.
I don't hear you now.
We can't hear you,
You
Steph.
muted yourself, Steph. Steph, you muted. Steph.
Is she on the phone?
Do you feel like the search warranted?
You were muted for a
Yeah,
second.
you went completely blank for a second. We couldn't hear you.
Oh, sorry. I was getting a phone call. This is not the right phone that I normally do this.
I hate when that happens and I have to turn like all my notifications off. I hate that. Okay.
Yeah.
Missed the first like 15 seconds of what you were saying.
Yeah. So my question, Jimmy, is how do you feel about the situation? You said you're a semi-friend. Does that mean like you're like sometimes you talk and sometimes you don't?
Yeah. So we were acquainted just through some church stuff several years ago. So I knew of him. We messaged about some events that were happening and kind of just, developed a small relationship from that. I wasn't going to play golf. We weren't going to dinner. But it would be, text message, hey, man, what's up? How's it going? Blah, blah, blah. So obviously, after everything happened with Micah, I reached out just to, see how he was in everything. So, that sparked a little bit more of a friendship of just checking on him, seeing how things are going. But, so that's why I say semi-friendship in we're not going to dinner together, but we would text each other randomly. Especially since everything has happened.
Does he understand that the FBI has to have probable cause to even come close to having a search warrant? What I'm saying is
he does understand that.
He doesn't. Yeah.
They just now again. He feels like he has told his lawyers everything about their relationship, everything that's happened, good, bad, ugly. And even his lawyers are saying, we don't know what they're looking for. We don't know. So on their radar, it's not like, I know people say, oh, he was tipped off or there's speculation. He literally was making plans to move forward with a rebrand, trying to build the ministry back, and all of this just came out of left field for him. So he is very much, I would say, in a scared place right now, simply because he knows something's coming. He doesn't know what it is, and he doesn't know what they're looking for, so he can't even process all of that. I will say he did, make a comment when I had kind of questioned, hey, what is it that they're searching? Is it financial? And there was speculation that it's not only because the church was not raided. Mm-hmm. That, if they were going to raid financial documents, all of that would be kept at the ministry on church computers, and the church wasn't touched.
Is he afraid that they were going to raid the church? Is that why he moved out so suddenly? Because he's not afraid of the protesters. They've protested there for months and they still have services. But now 2 days after an FBI raid, they are no longer having services. Is the move, because I feel like he has to understand that wherever he goes and wherever those files go, the FBI knows where they're at.
Yeah, I don't think that was why. Again, I don't think he's speculating that it's financial, only because, again, they would have gone to the church. It literally, he had made a comment about how much it's costing to keep the church just afloat with obviously a handful of people.
Right.
So that has been happening. They still have to pay certain staff. You still have your light bill. You still have all of that. So I think he's looking probably down the pike and realizing something has to happen here. And then with the raid, I think it was just the final straw for the ministry where he had, when they made a decision to close it, we got to clear out. I know they're selling a lot of the assets to try to recoup money to pay off debts and to do whatever it is they have to do to close down the corporation.
That leads me into my next question. Does he have plans to sell the actual building? Like put it on the market?
I don't know. I did not ask him.
Okay. I have a question.
I'm sorry for all the questions, but we don't normally have a friend in here to speak.
Right.
We're just like have all these questions, but go ahead.
I just find it odd, Jimmy. You got to agree, okay, on this one. I just find it odd that Sweet Micah was found in the water, and then he changed the name of the new church to Living Waters. Like, I just feel like there's something there with that.
I have a pastoral background as well. I pastored a church for 20 years. I personally you can go back to Moses when he struck the rock and water came from it. I'm just saying in scripture, there's a tie-in to water coming from the rock. So I don't think it's and I'll be honest, either name they're both very traditional church names, Solid Rock, Living Waters. I've heard those names thousands of times in multiple churches. I didn't question him on, where was your thought process with the name change? But as a evangelical pastor, I never heard that and thought anything with that. It's a very common church name. There's probably some scriptural, like I said, reference to when Moses hit the rock and water came from it. There's probably something, but again, I didn't get into that with him of why. Jimmy, but it didn't spark me as a strange thing.
Well, it sparked her family. That's why. I'm just saying, like that to me, that just kind of felt odd to me. But
Jimmy, how did you feel about how JP has treated Micah over the years?
So I don't want to get into a heated debate because this is not what I on here to do. I'm very rarely even on TikTok. I just scrolling through and saw it, and I thought I could offer maybe a little bit of understanding of the church closing process. But I was not in their marriage. Like I said, my relationship with them was brief, and I never even talked to her. It was wholeheartedly through JP. So I give everybody the benefit of the doubt. From what I hear, the things, I would say that he probably wasn't a great husband. I know, so I really can't speculate on that.
Jimmy, did you see the sermons where he had spoken about Micah to the congregation for months on end? Did you see any of those sermons?
I did. Yes.
Okay. I see your question in the comments. Give us just a second, okay? I see you though. Everybody, as you can see, is asking if you were at the protest on Sunday.
Me?
Yeah.
No, I'm in Anaheim, California, so no, I was not in any protest.
Okay.
And I wouldn't protest.
That seemed to be the common question in the comments.
I would say that comment was flooding, so that's why she was just asking, because it was flooding the comments.
No, certainly not.
Okay.
I do know. Okay.
Wow.
So
go ahead. No, you go ahead.
No, so again, I wasn't in their marriage. I don't know what happens behind closed doors. It certainly wouldn't be the first pastor who had something exposed that shocked people, that, what was on the platform was not necessarily what was happening behind closed doors. So I never would pretend to say, yes, no, absolutely not. I do personally believe there was mental issues on both parts. Obviously, we've all seen the video of JP on medicine, laying in the front yard. He's personally sent me screenshots of messages begging Micah's family to get her on her medicine. And that has been kind of his whole piece, is that yes, they had marriage problems, but he was begging for her to be put back on her medicine because she wasn't in a right state of mind. Again, I can say for sure he was begging the family to get her on medication. Her medical diagnosis of whether she needed it, whether she didn't, whether she was for, I can't speak to any of that because I, again, was not privy to any of that. But
right, it was her free will to take the medicine or not. She was an adult.
Oh, 100%, 100%. Again, I was pastoring for 20 years. So I just did a funeral for a 23-year-old 2 weekends ago. Very similar situation. Was on medication, decided he did not want to take the medicine anymore. He felt better on it, and many people do. And again, I'm not putting Micah in this box. I'm not speaking to, but I'm just saying is it looked like he was great. But what happens is once your body, your brain starts to, it takes a while to come off those medicines to get it fully out of your system. And out of nowhere, he had a great day. He was working in a garage with his friends as a mechanic, doing great day, and suddenly got in his car, drove up the road, and shot himself. Everybody that was there with him 5 minutes before was like, he was here, he was laughing, we were having fun, and just, so my point is yes, they have a right to take it or not take it. And what I'm saying is I have seen it many times where people are prescribed medication, don't come off of it right. If they want to come off of it, you have to wean yourself off of that. You have to.
Hey, Jimmy.
Yes.
And hey, Steph, I've never been up here before. I've watched your lives a million times. And I've watched the story really closely, and I have not said anything until now. But I want to speak to this particularly. I actually have a story about me and my first husband coming out in the Dallas Morning News, where he abused me in the same way that Michael was. I was admitted to a mental hospital 7 times. I was on psychiatric meds for 9 years that I did not need. He convinced everyone around me that I was mentally ill and a danger to myself and others when it was absolutely not true. So this case is really personal for me. I was raised in evangelical church my entire life until 4 years ago. I finally got the courage to walk away from the church. But it was supported through the church. He wasn't a pastor, but the church absolutely supported him in his behavior and even helped fund him in his behavior against me. Thank God I was able to get away. And it took me 11 years to get my children away from him that he was also abusing. So I can tell you that there are people that need mental health care. Absolutely 100%. There are people who need mental health care. But if you are not hearing that from someone's mouth to God's ears and you're hearing it from someone else, you need to ask questions, especially if you are a pastor. I'm just going to tell you because I had no one believe me and help me except for the people in the hospital telling me, you don't need to be here. What's going on at home? How can you get out? I couldn't get out. I had 3 kids. I had no job. My family believed that I was mentally ill, that he was helping me. I had no one, absolutely no one. And it wasn't until he literally
I'm sorry.
Believed.
Can somebody please remove CJ from this room? Thank you, mods. Go ahead, Allie.
So it wasn't until that he actually, he started using drugs. He told everyone he was Jesus Christ and was gathering disciples that someone said, wow, maybe there's something else going on at home. And I had been living in hell for 9 years with this man. And, and so my advice to you as a pastor is if it is someone else telling you that someone has a mental health problem and they are not a minor and it's not their parent, I would say that would be the only caveat. Don't believe them until you hear from the person themselves. Please, God, please don't believe them until you hear it from the person themselves. It is rampant in our church. It is more common than people think, and it is devastating to people's lives. Yeah. Absolutely devastating. And so when when people hear Micah's story, just like when people hear my story, they say, there's absolutely no way that could happen. How in the world could that happen to you? It happens, and it is terrifying. For you're married and the church tells you submit to your husband, and then your husband's emailing doctors and going to doctor's appointments and claiming that you're schizophrenic and hearing voices and suicidal. I've been taken to the ER and said she tried to overdose, and they've tested my blood after they've locked me up, and the results come back and there's nothing in my system. Over and over and over. So
Yeah,
like I said, I've never been in here before, but this is something that if people do not understand that this is not a singular issue and it is way more dangerous than it's the way that it's being discussed in her case. Fortunately, I didn't die.
Yeah.
That's the only difference between me and Micah, is that I'm alive.
And I'm so sorry to hear your story and that happened to you. And I am not speculating as to what happened, in between Micah and JP. My only thing in regards to them is if, again, I was not there, but if she was forced, then I would say there's a bigger issue that has to happen even within the realms of our healthcare system, because if she was inpatient multiple times, that she saw multiple doctors prescribed her medicine that maybe she did not need. And so I wholeheartedly hear what you're saying. I'm just saying is then I also think there needs to be an evaluation of what doctors are forcing people to take medicine. And I do know that happens. I know that
it is, but as a female who was young, I married young. I was 18 when I married him. Okay. Very similar to Micah's story. I know she was much younger. I was young. I didn't know. I was stupid. I didn't know anything. And I went to every pastor I could get a hold of and said, can I leave this man? And they said, is he having an affair? And I said, no. And they said, then you have no grounds for divorce. Submit to your husband.
Oh, yeah. And I push back on that wholeheartedly. In my opinion, and the churches that I've led we take a very hard stance on any type of abuse. Physical abuse, verbal abuse, financial abuse. We believe in women. We believe in women in ministry. We believe that God's created us equal.
Then how can you sit there? I'm going to push back. Then how can you sit there and say that JP was just not a good husband? JP is a horrible human being.
I'm saying is I don't know. I'm not putting anyone in a box. I'm saying I was not involved in their marriage. There were people who could speak to that.
I'm not either, and I can sit here and tell you he's an awful human being.
The sermons.
Hold on, panel. Jimmy, let me ask you this question here. So let's say, and this is just a what if. Let's say the grand jury comes back with an indictment about under 2261 about domestic violence over state lines, and then let's say he's found guilty. So at this point, you have the United States government telling you that he is an abuser. Would you at that point continue your friendship with him knowing what he has done to women and possibly other victims underage?
So let me clarify again. When I use the word friendship, we've never sat down for a meal. I've not been over to their home. I've never been to Solid Rock Church. Before the Micah Miller situation happened, it was very much we connected over a conference. I would ask some ministry questions. He'd ask me some. It was very surface based. Here's where I am. I see pastors that fall all the time, and I've done terrible things. As a pastor myself, my heart obviously 100% goes out to the victim, 100% goes out to the abuse, and 100% those who abuse need to be held accountable. However, I also look at the abuser and realize that is a human person as well with a soul. And is anybody just asking, are you okay? Are you navigating this season? Are you getting help? Because obviously if somebody has abused another person, they need desperate help and they should be held accountable for what they've done. So
can I ask Jimmy a question, please?
Sure.
Yeah. Hi, Jimmy. Sorry, I'm a Brit, so I'm quite direct. I hope you'll forgive me.
That's right.
Yeah. So, just listening to you, really interested to hear what you've got to say. Thanks so much for coming up on the panel. The couple of things that interest me. So, first of all, I wanted to say, you said that in response to someone's question that you have seen some of the videos of the sermons, basically where JP is abusing and, demeaning Micah. I'm just wondering, I've just heard what you said about taking a really strong line against abuse in your ministry. I'm just wondering, does that not sit uncomfortably with you? How do you feel when you see those sermons of the way that he was speaking to her and about her?
So I would have to just clarify, I guess, in particular of what sermon clips, because I'm not a big TikToker, so I can't say that I've probably seen everything that everyone else has. I did not go back and watch all of JP's sermons. I will say I have seen clips of sermons where, on social media where I'm like, oh, that was not great. I can't remember anything offhand where I recall him saying anything specifically that he was abusing his wife. I don't.
Okay. So can I just ask you about the police reports then? So as you will have seen, I'm sure, there are a number of police reports that have been filed and follow-ups to those referring to where there are allegations that JP or someone has placed tracking devices on Micah's vehicles, tire deflation devices, basically engaging in
nude videos or nude pictures.
In stalking, posting nude pictures of her on the internet, etc. So, and this is basically comes under stalking, and some of that is also covered under that statute of 2261. So, with those, that's not something someone's just made up. You're here really saying that you're JP's friend. So really, the way that it comes across, I would imagine to quite a few of us, is that you're here to kind of apologise, put his case, for him. And I'm just wondering how you feel in your heart, as a Christian, as a pastor yourself, how do you feel about this man? I understand that you might want to kind of look after his welfare, advise him counsel, but do you not have personal feelings when you hear about those police reports of him engaging in those behaviors towards his wife?
Oh, 100%. I would say that they are 100% wrong. I mean, any husband that would post nude pictures of his wife as retaliation, 100% I would say is absolutely wrong. And there's just absolutely no excuse for any of that.
Are you advising him to turn himself in to the police, or are you just talking to him when he's lamenting about his terrible situation because he's innocent?
No, well, I'm not at all giving him legal advice. That's for sure.
That's not legal advice. That's moral advice. That's moral advice as a pastor.
Well, in his perspective, he hasn't done anything. Again, I'm not. His perspective is he hasn't done anything illegal here.
I don't think his perspective matters anymore.
Ellie, excuse me for a moment. Jimmy, hi, my name is Ann. I have a question for you, hon. You said that you're not very big on TikTok. Am I correct?
Yes.
Okay, so how did you find this live? Who sent you?
I'm on TikTok.
I'm sorry?
No, I'm on TikTok, and I've scrolled through TikTok. That's why I've said I've seen some of the videos. I'm just not this is the first time I've ever been on a live.
I was just wondering. Yeah,
it's not my app of choice. To be honest, I'm a Facebooker. That's just I'm probably old.
How long have you known John Paul Miller as a pastor pre Micah's death?
So I would probably say a little over a year. And again, I want to keep underscoring this. When I use the word friend, is we are friendly with each other. I do not categorize myself as somebody that would know any depth of their life outside of a surface conversation.
No, you talked to him on the day of the raid multiple times. I'm sorry, that's not true.
Okay, I just want to ask a question, please. So, you are aware of places like Not by Sight News, Roy's Report, who have been reporting on multiple, I mean, I don't know how many, in the thousands at this point, of pastors who are being arrested. Now, we refer to them in the word as wolves. And they're being arrested for sex crimes, for financial fraud. I mean, it's all over the country. You'd have to be blind not to see it. Now, I understand, I'm not going to hold you responsible for knowing John Paul Miller's, what kind of man he was pre-Micah, but we've got 6 months worth of all over YouTube, all over Facebook, all over TikTok, of how this man has twisted the word of God in probably every single solitary sermon. And it's all to back up his own desires. For example, when he says that a wife is supposed to submit to her husband no matter what he does. No matter what he does, because that's what the word says. Or talks about how God hates divorce, but seems to kind of go over very conveniently the part where it says unless there's sexual iniquity. Okay? I'm not trying to bash you, Pastor. That's not what I'm trying to say. But you came on here pretty strong in the beginning as somebody who's, defending John Paul Miller, and he is indefensible. He is a wolf. He has preyed on the children of God, and it's unacceptable.
Yeah. I didn't know, in my perspective, I did not come on as somebody in stark defense of John Paul Miller. I just came on to speak what I knew about the church name and then the closure of the church. Those were my initial statements.
Okay.
Because
I'm sorry. I don't mean to jump all over you.
I had insight to that, and that's what I had insight on. And I've said multiple times, I was not in their home, and there should be absolutely no grounds for anyone to abuse a spouse. And if it happens, then the worst thing that we can do is to hide it under a rug or make excuses for any of that. It needs to be brought to the light, and it needs to be dealt with. My perspective is I'm not against those things at all. I'm just the type of person who's like, hey, we got to deal with this stuff. But to me, again, it's not every perspective as a pastor, but as you're dealing with this, if it means prison time, if it means being arrested, if it means losing everything, okay, you got to walk out the seeds that you've sown. Right. But I believe that God wants to connect with you, and I believe that he wants to redeem your soul. So where are you at with him? How are you walking this journey? You can stay where you are. You can push blame on everybody else. Again, I've walked through situations like this where, husbands have abused wives. And as much ministry as we try to offer the wife, I also try to offer the husband. And 90% of the time, they don't want it because they want to just cast blame. And they carry it into their next relationship, and they never grow from any of it. So for me,
here's the upsetting part is that early on, John Paul Miller reached out to me early July and asked me, this was a pastor now. I'm not a pastor. I'm not a prophet. I'm not in a ministry, but yet came to me and asked me, what am I doing morally wrong in the eyes of God? How is it that a man of God wouldn't know what you're doing morally wrong? If you've got the book in front of you, you've got the word of God in front of you, it's clear. How would he not know? See, I think that he's fooled a lot of people to believe he was anointed for his position. I think a lot of people that are standing on the pulpit, I'm not saying this about you, I don't know you, but many people have been standing on the altar and abusing the word of God and abusing the sheep. We're in the season of judgment, and that's not going to be acceptable anymore.
And I agree 100% with everything that you said. Wonderful. I think that's awesome. Why there is every other day you turn around. I mean, just even the Gateway Church.
I used to go to Gateway. I'm living it right now.
Yeah, just that whole scandal. I mean, again, it was one of the largest churches in America, and I just think it is a season where there's a reckoning, and part of it is because our culture that has pushed back on religious faith, and again, I'm a religious person. I'm a pastor. But in a positive way of saying, I don't care if you're religious, abuse is abuse, and it has to be accountable for.
That's Robert Morris,
Jimmy,
right?
you were here.
Can I say, what about dreams? Did you have a question? I know you've been waiting to speak. I didn't.
Yeah.
I was just talking about the sermons and how the abuse, in everyone's opinion, most people's opinion, was evident. Just by watching the sermons alone would be enough to see it, and it wasn't behind closed doors. That was the only point I was going to make.
Okay.
Just let me say one thing about that. Their church was a 700-800 member church. And I think, even when you look at the Gateway situation, and that pastor was very open, and not about her age, but that he had his story where he, was caught in sexual sin, repented, went through a restoration process, was very open with their church about that. Obviously, some details were missed there, in his storytelling. I think sometimes there's this perception of strength in numbers. I think sometimes, a pastor can say something, and my wife has been all over me multiple times in my last 20 years, pastor, and we've been married 10 years, but where I've said something and I didn't mean it in a negative way, but she's like, I can't believe you said that about me over the pulpit. And
I'm going to call foul on that. As a Gateway member, I went there for 15 years. My mom was actually on staff. My best friend was on staff for 14 years as a pastor there. It's not the same. It's not the same. And I urge you to go watch every single one of his sermons that are online, because it is 100% not the same. And I'm not defending Robert Morris. He is the scum of the earth.
No, and I'm not either.
Rapist.
Yeah.
But
but
it is not.
No, but my point
I
was,
have to agree. I have to agree with her on that. Robert Morris was very good in the teaching, no matter what he was doing on the side. I liked his teaching.
Yeah, but
felt like I walked away with something. But J.P. Miller, you feel like you got to take a shower after listening to him.
Literally.
But here's my point: is that for multiple years, 800 people did not think so. That obviously a majority of them do now because
you're right.
the church was.
Do you not think that someone who can manipulate his wife cannot manipulate a congregation that sees him once a week?
That's pastor worship, sir. That's pastor worship.
No,
These
yes.
are people who go beyond. They only look at the man because he's got a microphone and he's standing on a platform. And because of people believe everything that's on TV, believe everything that's on the internet. They believe everything that the guy is saying on the platform.
But that is my point.
We're in a culture where everybody pulls the altar stage.
Yeah. I'm not in disagreement. That's my point. My point is...
Are you holding him accountable as someone that's speaking to him?
Is sometimes a pastor can be wrong or say something, and what to say to somebody's face would be staggering. But I think when you're in a room of 700 people and nobody's batting an eye, somehow in our psyche we just say, oh, then I'm wrong. And
With what you know now, are you holding him to any level of accountability?
Every person that did bat an eye got a cease and desist letter. Every person that did bat an eye or said something that they opposed J.P. Mueller were mistreated very badly outside the church. They were threatened. He would show up at their job. He would threaten to have their job taken away. So that's why these 600 plus people didn't stand up. And it wasn't until Micah passed that they said, okay, we're done with this guy, and walked out the door, because they knew this was it.
Jimmy, can I ask you a question, please? Yeah. So,
Fletch, do you have anything to ask? I know you've been waiting a while to speak.
Yeah, just real quick. I'm just wondering what Jimmy's feelings are about the way that JP has handled in the media his beliefs about Micah's family. I mean, assuming everything he says is true and they're the ones that kept her from getting meds, or, if you believe that, I mean, as a pastor, as a Christian, do you have any objections to the way that he's sort of maligned them?
Oh, 100%. So that's why I clarify, my relationship is very surface level. And before all of this happened, it was very much ministry based. But I would advise anybody in a thing like that to start casting blame and to, if you have an issue, then take it up legally. And I say that with that, not in reference to the if he was going around trying to do cease and desist orders for church members, that to me is a staggering thing. I would never be personally a part of a church where the leadership is suing people. That's just not something that a church does. So yeah, so I'm not looking at everything saying, oh yeah, this is great. I 100%. I saw a TikTok, or maybe it was even on Facebook, where he was in a Spider-Man suit, and I'm like, I don't know what's happening here. But again, that's not my role in any communication with him. Isn't PR and how are you handling this? My role is, where are you at? Where's your relationship with God right now? What steps are you taking to be better? What type of counsel do you have around you?
Do you counsel him?
No, that's why I'm asking him. What type of counsel do you have around you? I don't live there. I'm in Anaheim,
Do you
California.
believe him?
Yeah.
When he answers you, that's what, like, when he says something, do you think that he's honest?
I do, yes.
Jimmy, before you speak to JP again, you need to watch the sermons. You need to go through the medical records. You need to go through his affidavit that he has. You need to go through Allie's affidavit. And you need to pray before you talk to him again.
Right on.
I guess, and maybe this is where I shouldn't have jumped on, because I'm not, my interest isn't, I do have faith in the legal system, and I do have faith and obviously we all know if an FBI is raiding, there's something that they got an order for. I have faith in the legal system that if things were done here illegally and wrong and abuse happens, that those parties will be held accountable. And I would want that, and I would promote that, and I would say that that's a great thing that should happen.
I have one last question. I have one question about that.
Well, hold on. My interest was not to, as where some of the true crimers, my interest wasn't to go through case files and to do all of that. To be honest with you, I have a church myself. I have multiple children. It's just not in my wheelhouse to do those. So, when I have a conversation and I can offer support or advice or just hear somebody out, I'll certainly do that. But I have faith.
Have you ever offered support or advice to him?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Jimmy, going back to the reason that you came on here, you were saying that you wanted to talk to us about the rebranding of the church and whether it's closing and changing of the name and stuff. I think quite a few of us probably are wondering, do you know, is he going to open a new church somewhere else in another physical building? Is that the plan or what?
I think Jimmy just paused. Maybe he'll be back. That's a good question, Vicky. That was one of my questions on the list to ask him.
I didn't realize I paused. I'm sorry, I'm back.
Yeah, sorry, Jimmy, I don't know if you heard my question. Basically, I was just saying that, okay.
Yeah, so I will say he's not in a great space right now. Like I said earlier, the FBI raid completely caught him and his lawyers off guard, and I think the secrecy around what they're looking for and potentially what charges, as would anybody, I think it is driving him mad, for a lack of better words. So I don't think there's plans right now to open any other ministry. I know that most things are being sold. So I think if and I didn't specifically ask him, are you starting another church? But I do know a comment was made that they're trying to sell everything they can. So I've started multiple churches, and I'll tell you right now, if you have thousands of dollars of chairs and equipment and lights and all of that stuff, if there's any seed that you're going to try to start again, you store all of that. You don't sell any of that, because...
So is he planning on selling Solid Rock, the actual building and the church and the plot? Do you know?
I do not know about that. My imagination would say yes. And I'll be transparent. When I first talked with him after all of this and things were kind of unraveling, my suggestion is you need to leave ministry and just put all this behind you and move forward in a different direction. And I don't mean all of this behind you in regards to Micah, but I meant in pastoring, and you just need to get out and not make that a goal anymore and move. Again.
So I've got one more comment just to make it. All right, then I'll just jump down, and that's following up from what Wild About Dreams was saying. Is that you were saying you've seen some of the things, some of the videos, and some of this and that. I was just wondering if you whether you've looked at, and if you haven't, could you please look at the legal documentation from JP's first wife, Alison, in which she alleges that JP has had relationships with underage children at the church. Do you know about that?
I do not know about that. I think I heard on a TikTok or a post somewhere of the ex-wife's allegations.
It's more than a TikTok post. It's in the legal documentation.
I haven't discussed that with him, and I haven't looked up documents on that.
So you might want to then, just to add to what Wild About Dreams was saying, there are a few things that you might want to look at before you have your next conversation with him. And one of those might be that documentation from his wife in which she alleges that.
Yeah. I'm probably not going to do that, only because that's it.
Is discernment not important?
Well, no, I'm trusting the legal system that if those things happen, that they're going to be exposed and he will be dealt with. Again, my relationship isn't, like I said, I offered in the beginning some wisdom on you need to, whatever happened, you need to come clean on, and you need to leave ministry immediately and put it behind you. Yeah, I can make a statement if that's not taken seriously, or it's, do you understand? There's no depth to our relationship in that way. So I can make a statement of advice, but I don't know that it's fruitful, and maybe in his planning or deliberation in that way. So, like I said, my reason for conversation is, where are you? Where's your relationship with God? Are you okay? And who do you have around you that is helping you?
Well, his relationship with God should be that he repents, and you would know as well as anybody else, probably better, that repentance means accountability. So
100%.
For most people would be putting your hands up in the air and going, you know what? I mistreated my wife. You know what? I did do these things. Whatever it is that he did do, I'm not expecting him to take responsibility for things he didn't do. But what he has done, do that. Take accountability and then repent and make yourself right. I'd rather see him serve prison here on earth and end up in paradise because he did things right by the eyes of God, not the eyes of man or anybody else. But that doesn't seem like what he's doing. He's dug his heels in. He's hired people to attack content creators and the family members. So still up to this day, we're dealing with a man who he does not care about God. He does not fear God. And that's a problem.
Yeah, and I don't disagree with you. If somebody did any of those things that he's accused of, 100%, you need to have a real come to Jesus moment. And the best thing that you could absolutely ever do is in any ounce of redemption is to throw your hands up and say, listen, this is true. That's not true, but I did do this, and I need to be held accountable for that. I don't disagree at all.
Yeah, I think that's great. Thank you.
I just wanted to say I've just been listening, and I've been following the Mike Miller case since the beginning also, and I think what the pastor's saying here, from what I'm gathering, is I feel like JP almost reached out to him for help. Maybe JP is getting to the end of his rope and doesn't know what to do, and I'm wholeheartedly against. I've watched the whole thing and saw the documents and everything, and I do feel like he did it, possibly allegedly, but I think the pastor's saying that I feel like JP has reached out to him because, God can forgive any sinner from no matter what they do, because God says that all sins are the same. I'm not defending him by any means, but I think that's why the pastor here is saying that they have a surface level relationship, because maybe JP is feeling the pressure and doesn't know what to do, and he's reaching out to this pastor for some questions, maybe without giving his full account of what happened or took place.
Oh wow, Jimmy. Let me just say, I've been just kind of sitting back and listening to the panel and reading the comments and kind of assessing how people feel in a general way. And I have to say, I understand where you're coming from. As a pastor, my father-in-law was a pastor. And so was his father and his father and his father, and first generation pastors all the way back for hundreds of years. And my husband's father, they had lots of churches on the eastern part of the United States. And so when I came into this, covering this story, John Paul Miller, I have to tell you, my father-in-law was a true man of God. And he truly has earned his crown of jewels in heaven. And I've said it before and I'll say it again. And there has never been an instance that I have seen my father-in-law turn anybody away. My cousin, True Kind Batty, in here, her dad is a cousin. She's a cousin, and it's the same church, so she knows. So I'm just trying to keep a level head here and understand and commend you for kind of taking that brunt from all of this anger that we have toward JP, because I think the bulk of the anger is he's not acknowledging that he's done anything wrong. He's always clueless. He never does nothing wrong. You don't know what's going on. And that's the biggest problem, is how can you also preach and lead people, but you don't want to be held accountable for your own actions and things that you have done wrong yourself. And so the common belief here in the comments, you got some people saying he's a pastor. He's coming forward just to say on a forgiving side, as a humanistic side. And then you've got others saying, how can you be a pastor and call him your friend, even whatever kind of friend that you want to call it. And so I don't know what the right answer is. I think it's up to each individual. But from my personal opinion, John Paul Miller brings a whole lot of trouble to just about everybody he comes in contact with. I would just heed caution in the name of forgiveness.
Does anybody else have like what they call like church hurt, where they've been in churches that are not there for God, where you're like in a church where it's all about manipulation and the persona they give just to collect money? I mean, I guess that's like my thing, is like the anger of, I've been in an abusive relationship where I was manipulated and looked like a psychopath because of my reaction to abuse. And most of the abuse happened in a church bathroom. So for them to sit here and say, or what is he going to do with the church? To me, it's not a church. They have that church fenced off, blocked off. You cannot get in unless you're already in. How is that a church? In my opinion, if
It's
somebody
not a church, it's just a building.
is seeking
God is the church.
and they want to come in and they don't know anything about JP and they don't know anything about Solid Rock, they can't, because there's people at the door. Well, who do you know? What are you with? Why are you here? Are you with the Justice for Mike? They don't let people in to find God. And to me, it's like, I listened to the interview he did where he was literally talking about, before he became a pastor, he was the kid trying to disprove the Bible. And then all of a sudden he was a pastor. And it doesn't make sense to me, other than, did you just become a pastor because you knew it was an easy way to get money? You knew you could manipulate these people? Like, the FBI isn't going to sit here and waste time and energy. All of those FBI agents that were in his garage, 25 of them, they wouldn't sit here and waste these energy and resources if they really believed Micah did it. And in my opinion, if she did do it, she did it to out all of the evil. And she did it in the name of God, because she wanted the evil to be known. But didn't he say in a sermon that God didn't like divorce, but abuse is okay if you're married to the person? It just doesn't make sense how he still has people that will defend him.
So let me just respond to one thing you said about the church and it not being a church. After pastoring for 20 years, what I have found, and even according to scripture, is the church obviously isn't a building, the church isn't the pastor, and the church is not God. People are the church. The Bible clearly lays out that the people are the body of Christ, the people are the church. And in pastoring for 20 years, the number one thing that I have every church growth seminar will teach you is 80 some percent, I think it's like 83, I don't have the number right for you, but it's 80 some percent of people come to a church and stay at a church because their friends go there. It has very little to do actually with the pastor, the worship team.
Right.
It has to do with your friends inside the building. So I just say that to say, when I've seen unhealthy churches like that 100%, and typically what you have is you have a nucleus around
Wait,
the
before
pastor.
you go any further, you were saying you've seen unhealthy churches like that. Are you saying you do agree that Solid Rock is an unhealthy church?
I'm not, I can't, I won't, I would, you know, if, I don't
got
know.
one question.
Probably. Would I go there? Probably not, no. But so what I'm saying is, typically in those scenarios is you have a handful of yes men, idol worship pastor people, and it's usually 5 or 6 people around the pastor who idolizes them. But the average church in America is 83 people. So Solid Rock would be considered at 700-800 members a mega church. So most of those people probably weren't even in love with JP. They probably weren't even they went there because they wanted to worship God. They had friends that went there. They had family that went there, and that was their connection point. And that's why pastors in a healthy church can leave and go to a different congregation, and the church sustains because they weren't there for the pastor. Right. In unhealthy churches where, again, and that's maybe what you see is when the masses leave and you still have a core that's unable to recognize some of the faults there. Yeah, there's some idol worship going there. But I just say that to say is I don't personally
often, because I'm not like all of y'all in here where it's like I firmly believe in God. It's like there are questions, because in my mind it's like, how can God be in a building with people that cover up such horrendous acts? But now, before you answer, he's been on stage and admitted all of the things that himself. So it's not just, like an opinion. It's just me watching the sermon and being like, how are these people in the audience nodding? Is it just because he's up there taking accountability and saying he's repenting and then all is forgiven?
But you can't question God for that. It's not God's fault. I mean, that's why there's sin in the world.
I would say, and a lot of that, though, hindsight is amazing. Most of the time, even when I preach, I have to think about, what did I preach last week? People retain very little of what you preach. Actually, but so they're there, they might be nodding, but again, yes, when Micah's, gone and all of this stuff is coming out, you can turn back and say, yeah, there was, and we've heard that, there was something off. He would make comments, but yet you still went there, yet you still attended. Right. Because hindsight is what hindsight is, but in the moment, is that a joke?
You're still talking to him.
Does he have a weird?
I'm sorry. The only time I can't allow the word. Yeah, no, wait, please, enough with this. The only time that people nod at church is when the Holy Ghost is not in charge of what's being preached.
Really?
If it's man's way, then it's going to be boring, because people did not come to church to listen to what a man has to say. They're looking for God. I'm sorry, but I'm a little disappointed in it seems like a lack of response or a lack of care for the sheep that have been affected under this shepherd. No, please. Because you came on here, like I said, looking to, you're his counselor, you knew him through whatever, it doesn't matter. The point is, when you look at the climate of church today, you're talking to a bunch of people who've been hurt by the church, and you're defending, in a sense, the wolf to the sheep who've been hurt. Something's off. And brother, if that's where you're at, please just hang up and go talk to God, because you're wrong.
Yeah.
Thank you for making me feel like I'm not crazy, because thank you. I'm so glad you just said that.
And that's fine. And again, I don't.
Let's let him respond. And I also want to get some other people on the panel who've been waiting. Conva 84, do you have anything to add?
So I would just like to respond. I would like to respond to that. Real quick, I'd like to respond to that because I don't have much time. I am driving home, and then I have to be with my kids. So. I think that maybe that's where you've missed my point. And two things: I never said I was his counselor. If I have a conversation, would I give him my advice?
Okay.
Yep. But was it ever to this point taken? No, I don't consider myself his confidant or his counselor. And to your second point, my point is, as I am defending the congregation, the 800 people who went to Solid Rock before all of this happened. I'm not defending people who would support a core value that maybe saw what was happening inside their marriage. I'm not supporting that. I just don't believe that the 800 people that went there are bad people that were all being, in support of JP and celebrating. What I'm saying is most people go to a church because their friends go there, their family goes there. It's a sense of community, whether or not they even like the pastor. So what I'm saying is I'm just trying to speak to those 800 people. I don't believe that they're all bad people, and that in hindsight, they could look back and say, I should have saw a red flag, or, you know what, that sermon did rub me wrong. I just wasn't sure why. Now I get it, then I didn't.
Okay, I wasn't saying that people were bad people either. I was just trying to understand the concept of it still being a church and not like a cult setting because of the way it's run by JP. I wasn't speaking of the people that were kind of like, why were they pulling in the parking lot and walking in the door? That's the part I wasn't understanding with what they had already knew of all the church, how it was ran. But I was never saying like the people were bad. I just didn't understand why they were agreeing with JP and just forgiving him because he's a pastor. I don't get that. But yeah. Okay.
Conva, go ahead.
Yes, thank you. I have two questions for Jimmy. The first one, why is it so hard for you to believe Micah herself?
If you're asking me a question, I'm sorry, you just broke up. I am driving, so could you repeat it?
Why is it so difficult for you to believe Micah herself?
I don't disbelieve Micah.
So you believe Micah?
I do believe Micah. I would believe anyone who comes and is claiming they were abused.
But you're still standing up for JP and saying that if he did do anything wrong, then the justice system and all of that will take care of it. That's not always the case. I was abused for many years. I was beaten. I did everything I could. I called the cops every single time, and they didn't do anything for me. They don't for many, many women. Not until they are dead. And even then, they still don't. So forget the justice system. Why are you still talking to him if you don't believe her? I mean, if you believe her, why would you even speak to him in the first place? And continue to speak.
I think I clarified that.
Why would you continue if you believe her?
What he's saying, Conva, is he's coming in from a preacher's standpoint of he's coming in as a man that directs people to God, no matter who they are.
Okay, but I'm still hearing excuses. I'm still hearing deflection.
Hold on. If a murderer come through the front door, Jimmy would probably say, let's sit down and talk about it. Or would you, Jimmy?
100%, because that's that, and that's what my point I'm trying to make. I am not a true crimer. I am not a part of JP's denomination. He could pass me in a crowd and he would have no idea who I am. Our whole conversation has been on the telephone, so I'm not here for that piece of it. Any conversations I have with him is in spiritual matters. Where are you at? What's happening in your world right now? How are you processing that? Who are you talking to? Do you have good counsel around you? Those type of things. And again, I have given opinion and advice, but I am no governing authority over him or his church or any of that. So, I don't, again, anybody who would walk through my door, I would say, hey, where are you at? What's happening in your life? How can I help? So I have never said I don't believe Micah. And and if the abuse has happened, then it needs to be dealt with. And that's where I say, if people have information, and I know many, then take it to the FBI, take it to the police, do whatever it is that you have to do, or what's within your power to do to bring justice. I'm not against any of that.
Counseling this guy, if he hasn't, he's dug his heels into his sin and hasn't said anything, even Jesus Christ walked away, dusted his feet off from people who wouldn't listen. If you don't see a change in this man, why would you keep telling him? Maybe you got to wait until he's behind bars when he's willing to listen and he's not distracted by the things that he's sinning with. Because he's got multiple women in his life and God only knows what else he's doing. But I'll tell you what, there's not been 1 ounce of grief and not 1 ounce of repentance out of this man. Not one. And if you've been counseling him for the past 6 months, dude, he's not listening.
Well, again, that's where I take exception with the word counseling, because to me, counseling.
Well, he's speaking to him or helping him or whatever you want to call it.
I can submit advice. I don't relationally. He's not coming to me in that essence of relationship or in essence of a governing
Whatever
authority.
essence it is, it's not working, and maybe it's time to dust your feet off and pay attention to the women here who are telling you they've been hurt. We've all been hurt by the church. And we look at a wolf like this who just refuses to take accountability. The last thing we want to hear is another man of God saying, well, I feel sorry for him. I kind of want to help him, and I talk to him, and I text him every week. Great. Well, what about all the other people that are hurting because of him? We got victims with an S from this man. He has victimized the body of God, the body of Christ. Okay?
And I would offer ministry
to
any of them as well.
Everybody else may water that down, but God doesn't.
Yeah, I would offer ministry to any one of them as well. Again, my conversation with JP is, and even in this whole thing, it's not. And I have said this 100 times over already. I am not in defense of any of that. I was not in their home. I was not in their marriage. I was never stepped foot in Solid Rock Church. I've never even been to what beach are they at? I forget.
Well, nobody is being mean to him. If you read the Word of God, it says we're supposed to test the spirit. And
I didn't say anyone's being mean. I'm saying
not you, Jimmy, not you. I'm talking about the chat. I'm sorry. No, not you, Pastor. No.
So for me, it was a, if I can offer any wisdom or help, I certainly will. I didn't get on here to defend JP or to put Micah down. I have stated time and time again, I cannot speak to those things. I'm not a true crimer. I haven't read the documents. I haven't gone through every sermon. I just came on really to offer what I knew of the building and it being closed and why that happened with the whole name situation. That's what I had perspective on. And
I don't even think he's coming in from Micah's perspective. Like he's not really even privy to the case or anything. He's coming at it like Steph said. If any pastor for murder, there's people who sit in jail every day that God forgives, and anybody who is a pastor is supposed to be open to leading the people to God or back to God, or not excusing what they've done, but to get them where they need to be. So I think,
quick questions.
Everything's kind of been taken out of context, I believe, in Jimmy's defense. And that, I'm not defending JP at all, but I'm just saying, Jimmy has no idea of what's even going on.
I'm not attacking Jimmy. I'm just saying that maybe at this point he won't listen until probably he's paying the price. That's probably when he'll be more open.
And that may be, and that has been true for many people, is, you see them and you think they've hit rock bottom and you hope they turn their life around, but they got to go a whole lot further down before they ever start to listen to anybody. So again, I almost have purposely sometimes tried to even shield myself from knowing too much, because that's not my role. That's not what I do. I'm not into that. But I just wanted to, be a voice. If I can speak into JP, I certainly will. I can listen to him. I can offer ministry advice to him and what he should do, but I can't make him do anything. I can't.
Right.
So that's just my perspective on it. Is, and I understand that there are many victims of domestic abuse who have been hurt, and I will be the first to say the church has done a terrible job with dealing with domestic abuse. Luckily, my mom was a pastor in a time where females couldn't even be pastors. So I come from a line of very strong women. So that's always been almost a foreign thing of how a church could cover something like that up or have it in scripture where it would be okay. That's just a foreign concept to me because again, my mom was a pastor in a time where women weren't allowed to be ministers, and so I've never seen that in scripture. Obviously, it's not there, and I don't come from a denomination of churches who, as some denominations do, have a history of struggling with that and dealing with it rightly. So I do support any victim of domestic abuse.
Can I just ask Preacher Wife 2020, did you have a question? You've been waiting a while.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Steph. I was sitting here with my hand up.
Question.
I appreciate you so much for letting me come up. There was a little bit of confusion in the chat about it gets hard with text. I can't come through the way that I intend to. I've never met Jimmy. I don't know Jimmy. All I was saying is, being married to a preacher myself, we have been through church hurt. We were actually kicked out from a church that didn't want the truth. They wanted to be a social club. I followed this case from the beginning. My husband has watched your lives, everybody's lives. We've watched his sermons, and he will simply say, the man needs the Lord. And what I was trying to put in the chat that people were not understanding is, as Jimmy is a called man of God, as my husband is, my husband would be open to talking to JP if he could lead him to the Lord. And he would go to a prison and talk to a serial killer. It doesn't matter who, that's their calling, no matter what they've done.
Can I ask a question about that? What is it if you do go to somebody like you just stated that was one of those people, and they pretend to go to the Lord in order to use that to abuse people, like pretending to be a man of God, but secretly in the shadows hurting many of God's children? So
he has to stand accountable for God one day.
That's what's my question.
Okay.
That's my question to it.
I have an answer for you on that. Being a preacher's wife, I've been to many states, many towns, to many churches. I have known many people that are standing behind pulpits that are not actually called of God. They're called of themselves, and they do it for money. They're not doing it because they're called of God, and they shouldn't be there. But what Miss Ann is talking about testing the spirit, it's really hard for an unsaved person to know if what they're being told is the truth or not. That's why the Holy Spirit has to be there. A true preacher is anointed with the Holy Spirit. That's how you can tell. And there's many pastors in the town where I live that and I don't like to talk to anybody about anybody, but what they say, what comes out of their mouth is not truth. So you have to test the spirit. You have to know. But a true man of God will never turn anybody away if they say that they want counseling, that they want help.
So that's where like discernment comes in. Like, is it called like the gift of discernment?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. But once you're saved, you can have the gift of discernment. But it is, like my husband, it's our job to point out, it's his job to point out when another preacher or pastor is doing something wrong. We should stand up and say, hey, that's not a church, that's a cult. We should say what they're doing is not right. It's perfectly fine to say that somebody is acting in the name of God and not, if it doesn't line up with the Bible, then it's not of God.
Okay, thank you. That makes total sense. That was like where I was confused on it, because I didn't understand how there's a lot, especially like in towns, like, Myrtle Beach isn't, but being in a small, you see it a lot.
Conda, you said you had another question?
Yeah, my second question, kind of a two-parter here, is first, his statement is that language matters. So if you do believe Micah, why are you still saying if the abuse happened, if you believe her? Second, if a woman from your congregation came to you and saying the same thing that Micah's been telling all of us, would you even believe her or help her? Because right now, what I'm hearing, if the abuse happened, language matters. I'm not hearing that you would help her.
Yeah, I mean, I've had many people in our church come to me with abusive situations, and it's always a solid line that at the church we stand with the victim. And I'll be honest with you, there was even a situation we had recently where the wife claimed abuse. The church came in and again, we can only do so much. We're an organization. You can't make people. I can't move into your home, but we highly encourage the man to move out. We supported the woman. Came out in court later.
That's difficult and very expensive to do, right? It's extremely hard.
And we did support her. No, but that's what I'm saying. We did support her in every endeavor that we could do financially. We stood beside her. She confessed in court a year later that she made the whole thing up because she was having an affair and wanted out, and that was her go-to. And I know that's a far exception because 99.99% of the time. But my point is that's why we always we stand with the victim. And if there is something wrong, if there's not truth there, I just trust the court system to deal with that. That's not my job. Is we stand with the victim, we stand with those who are saying that they are abused, and we let the court systems handle everything else. That's not the church's job, in my opinion, to come in and be judge and jury and say you're right, you're wrong. Yeah. Nope. If this is what you're saying is happening in your life, then we stand with you. So I don't disbelieve Micah. I believe if she's saying that she was abused, then I believe that she was abused. And do I personally, again, so that's not what I'm debating. Did she kill herself or was she murdered? That's what I am referring to when I say if, and maybe I should have clarified that. If she was murdered or took her own life, is maybe how I should have clarified that. I don't disbelieve that there was abuse happening.
Just make sure you say slurder. It's rhyming, so we don't get flagged. So pew pew slurder.
Yeah. Okay.
Clarify equals excuses. Bye.
Hi, Kimbers. Did you have a question?
Hey, girl.
Hi.
I haven't got to see you guys in a couple of days.
That's been a minute.
I know. I wanted to come in and see how my girls were.
Well, we're just sitting around talking with Jimmy. Jimmy is, I would say, just an acquaintance of John Paul Miller, and he's a preacher, and he's just talking about different aspects of being a preacher and trying to have an open mind with everybody, and try to lead them back on a path toward God and not be the judge and jury, but just be the supportive system. And so a lot of folks in the comments in the panel have taken issue because of all the horrible things that have happened. And we have you got to mute. If I'm echoing, come all the way out and come all the way back in. That's the only thing that fixes it, trust me. But that's just what we're talking about today. What do you think?
Well, I was just wondering because when he came on and he said, if, the abuse, blah, 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 so forth, like, I get that, but there's way too many signs that it was not going on. You know what I mean? I mean, from pictures to, I have also, done my research on the case. And I have seen some messages from group messages that JP was involved in and sent out and things like that. I mean, she tried her hardest, and I feel like if maybe she got to a point where she felt she had no way out, she's like, listen, I'm going to do what I have to do. Not saying that she unalived herself, but, she fought to the very end, and maybe in her mind is thinking, I might be able to save somebody else or many others' lives or anything like that. But I don't know. That was just my thing because I was kind of concerning concerned with what he had said. So that's why I was like, oh, well, I'm going to check in on this.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Somebody, where's my mods at? Oh, Lord. Lord, bless them
Lord,
today.
I see it.
TikTok is the place. If you want to get entertained, this is the place to do it. I don't know where they kept up with that stuff. But thank you guys. Thank you guys so much. I've been on here for about 2.5 hours, so I'm going to take a break. Jimmy, you got up here on the panel and you took it and you answered questions. And so I have to say, I appreciate your patience and your honesty.
Thank you. And again, I fully understand people's frustration and their anger. And I do understand where all of that is coming from. So, so thanks for allowing me to talk and to answer the little bit that I know. So,
right.
Thank you for answering my questions.
Can I please just ask one question, Steph?
Sure.
It's somebody we've been wanting to know, what church do you exactly preach at, and how did you first get to know of John Paul?
So I'm not going to say what church I preach at, only simply because I just don't want blowback on our church simply because of this. Then simply all that is. So I was in contact with JP simply because there was a musical artist that the band Kane, if you remember when Micah sang with them. That was going to his church. We were going to be hosting them, ended up not hosting them. And so one of the promoters from that had put me in contact with JP to get his experience of how it was working with them, of a church of a similar size. And that's really how we came into contact. And then there was a conference that we were both going to be attending. And I had said at that point, well, I felt like we had a good conversation. Hey, if I see you out there, but then I ended up not going to that conference. So we have never met in person. And, since, before the Micah thing, it was very surfacey. How was church? What message series are you in right now? Like I said, he could pass me in a crowd and not know who I am.
Right. And I didn't want to give away an exact location or anything like that. It just, California is pretty broad, and we were, there's a lot of people on here that.
Yeah, I understand that. I just
people, so.
It's a crazy situation, a crazy case, and I just wouldn't want my family or our church to have, pushback simply because I've chose to offer a listening ear to someone.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that. I really appreciate it.
Yes, ma'am. All right, well, thank you. I got to go in. I'm sitting in our driveway, so my wife can go vote. So I got to be with my kids. So.
Okay. Well, thank you for coming up to the panel, and I appreciate your time.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, guys. Let me expand this so I can see Ian's pretty faces that's in the comments. I'm going to hop down off here and take a little break. Let's compose ourselves. Okay. Y'all did a great job. Yeah, you guys did a great job facilitating the questions and coming up on the panel, and I really appreciate that. You guys, you are the reason that this show even happens. Oh my goodness. Thank you guys so much. You're making my dreams come true right before my eyes. This was a reschedule for later on the day because I had a doctor's appointment this morning. I don't normally go live at this time during the day, although the viewer count is way higher at this time. I'm thinking at 10:30 in the morning. We may or may not change that. I don't know. I'll talk to my manager about it and see what he says. Let me know what you think too. Keep it at 10:30 in the morning or come more toward the afternoon, We'll think about that. Thank you for using your stickers. Thank you guys for all your support. I'll be live in the morning at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time until noon, and every day this week. And I'm live every Saturday night between 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and midnight. There's so many times I got to keep it straight. All right. Remember to follow me on any social media platform. All you have to do is look for the same username and logo. I am on YouTube, X, Bookface, Instagram, blah, 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 blah. Wherever you are, there I am too. There's so many of them. I don't know. I'm everywhere. Okay. I love you guys so much, and I'll see you in the morning. Thank you, Kimbers. Thank you, Ann. Thank you, Cindy. And everybody else that came on the panel. Thank you, and I hope you have a great day. Bye.